Today on the podcast, from Comedy Bang Bang, Scott Aukerman, novelizing a chapter by Nita Haberlein, plus an interview with Michael Hartney. It's The Novelizers.
Don't want your popcorn, don't want your milk duds, don't want my shoes stuck in pools of sticky cola. Don't show me romance, don't show me fist fights, just show me words printed out under the book lights. Yeah, baby, novelize the movie. Give me sentences, paragraphs, and nothing to see. Yeah, novelize the movie. Write a book and turn it into a podcast.
From 8-bit video games to boy bands to Gen Xers, it seems like the 1980s will never die. Except the best part of the 80s is nowhere to be seen. I'm talking about movie novelizations, pulp novels that took blockbuster films and turned them into books. Why haven't we brought those back?
That's what this podcast is all about. We take your favorite films, get comedy writers to novelize them, then get actors to narrate.
This season on the show, we're novelizing The Matrix. And here to tell us where we are in the story is me. After everyone escapes the agents, except for Morpheus, Cypher's alone and he calls Tank to beam him up. The rest of the team gets to the phone booth, and right when Neo picks up the phone to leave, the phone goes dead. Trinity decides to call Tank directly, and what do you know? Cypher answers the phone. He has killed Tank and Dozer and started literally pulling the plug on APOC and Switch. Right when he was about to put a plug on Neo, Tank was never dead, and he killed Cypher.
Thanks, Kevin. You know, it takes a lot of people to make this podcast happen, like dozens of them, but it also takes you. How can you help? Well, if you're a lawyer for Paramount, you can help by not suing us. Otherwise, you can help by going to patreon.com, searching for The Novelizers, and chipping in a few bucks a month. And if you're in a good mood, why not tell some friends or give us a good review? Love ya.
Today we've got a chapter novelized by the hilarious Nita Haberlein, narrated by the also hilarious Scott Aukerman from Comedy Bang Bang, Between Two Ferns, and Mr. Show. Scott Aukerman, novelize us.
Chapter 15, Cypher? I Barely Know Him. Novelized by Nita Haberlein. Narrated by Scott Aukerman. Aboard the ship, Tank peered at the monitors raining their constant stream of green matrix code. Every so often, a particularly fascinating 1 or 0 went by, making him frown intently. Sometimes a series of symbols went past which represented a spoon, and then he chuckled knowingly. He couldn't believe some people still thought those things were real. Suddenly, the phone rang. Just as a really interesting patch of squiggles started by, Tank considered letting it go to voicemail, but sighed and picked up. "Tank, I need an exit right away," Cypher said. "Cypher?" asked Tank, doing an elaborate double take from one monitor to the other. "Your character status says kidnapped by Hugo Weaving." "There was an accident and I escaped from the agents," said Cypher. "A goddamn car accident, can you believe it?" He laughed. "I mean, can you? Or are you buying this? Or I could make up something else?" No, car accident. Yeah, that's fine," said Tank, distracted. There was some real sexy gibberish dancing across his monitor right now. He'd missed the first chunk of it, so he wasn't sure whether it was a lady wriggling into a tight dress or maybe somebody vigorously coloring a crayon drawing of Elmo, but either way, it was working for him. "Yeah, I got away," Cypher mused. "Guess somebody up there still likes me. Probably those evil machines I'm working with to betray you all," he mused further. "Fuck, did I muse that out loud?" he mused. Did you say something?" asked Tank, searching through the shifting characters on his monitors. He located the shiftiest character of them all, which could only represent Cypher. "Aha, I got you. Your nearest exit is an old TV repair shop on Franklin and Erie." Without a word, Cypher slammed down the phone and strode away toward the extraction point. Tank listened to the deadline and sighed in an injured manner. "Goodbye," he said, swiveling in his chair. "You're welcome." He shook his head. Seriously, that Cypher sure knew how to wound Tank. Not outright kill him per se, but wound him seriously. He wondered if that foreshadowed anything. Just then, the phone rang again. He picked it up. "Is Morpheus alive, Tank?" asked Trinity curtly. "Oh, hi, Trinity." Tank checked the monitor. "Yep, Morpheus is alive. He's over here next to some zeros in the letter J. Hey, how's the Matrix? Having fun?" Trinity cut him off. We need an exit, she said curtly. Jesus, my friend's phone manners are atrocious, Tank thought to himself. Everybody needed a goddamn exit. Nobody ever wanted to have just a conversation. Well, wouldn't they be sorry when he was dead in a couple of minutes? And wouldn't they be even more sorry a couple of minutes after that when he wasn't anymore? Sure, let me find you the closest one, said Tank. He leaned over and yanked a piece of hair from one of his unconscious crewmates and used it to triangulate their position on the monitor. You're not far from Cypher, he said. I sent him to Franklin and Erie. Got it, said Trinity. She hung up curtly, and immediately wished she had checked to see what he'd meant by that. Was Franklin and Erie a street intersection? A law office? Kind of sounded like it could be the name of a puppet comedy duo. Damn it, Laverne, she thought, forgetting as always to use her cool cyberpunk name Trinity in her inner monologues. Why did she always have to be so curt? And which of those Franklin and Erie possibilities should she try first? Cypher had made his way to the TV repair shop. He paused at the storefront, not sure how to proceed, when the advice that Morpheus had given him all those years ago floated into his mind. I can only show you the door, Morpheus had said. You're the one who has to... What was it? Cypher beamed confidently and walked forward, smacking straight into the solid plane of the door. God damn it, he mused deafeningly to himself and anybody else within earshot. You literally can't walk through them. Just one more of Morpheus's goddamn lies. Cypher opened the door manually and entered the shop. He reached for the phone, pressed it against his ear, and awoke one match cut later outside the Matrix. On board the ship, Cypher's eyes flew open, and he looked around ominously. Tank was busy setting up the next extraction point for Trinity and Neo, and those other two characters who were with them. What were their names? Lead? Or Four Loop? It wasn't important. Cypher scurried to the place where he'd cleverly hidden a giant space laser cannon that morning. It was underneath a thin blanket with a note on top that said, "Nothing to see here, suckers. Friends." In the Matrix, the extraction phone was up and ringing again. But back in the spaceship, something else was ringing now. Bullets! Space bullets, also known as lasers! Cypher blasted a huge bolt of white-hot electricity toward Tank. It missed, smashing into Tank's chair and sending him hurtling through the air. Shit, hollered Cypher. It was a swivel chair with wheels and everything, not easy to come by in the apocalypse. He blasted a second time, this time straight into Tank's chest, killing him instantly, at least for a little while. Dozer, another character who was also apparently on the ship, had nothing to do in this scene, or in most of the movie for that matter, and was starting to feel left out. He wandered into the room. Hey guys, he said. I'm dying to help the plot move forward a little. Cypher was happy to oblige. One jolt of hot, white, lasery goodness later, Dozer fell dead. Forever. The phone in the TV repair shop was still ringing, and Neo and Trinity had finally arrived along with those other two characters. And it turns out their names are Apoc and Switch. Apoc was probably a cute name for his full Christian name, Apocalypse. Switch was named after a switch. Neo picked up the phone, but as he raised it to his ear, he heard a soft click, and then nothing. He stared at the dead line, puzzled. What happened? Asked Trinity curtly. I don't know, confessed Neo, staring at the phone. It just went dead. Neo was visibly upset. He was very good at kung fu. Could he have unwittingly killed the phone? Trinity walked over to join him, and together they listened to the dead phone line. It wasn't a very exciting moment visually. She pulled out her cell phone and dialed Tank. Trinity's call began ringing faintly in Tank's headset. Cypher moved toward it, stepping over the body of Dozer, still sizzling like a freshly cooked steak on the ship's floor. God, it smelled good! Cypher fucking loved steak. He ignored the headset and picked up the ship's landline instead. Call him old-fashioned, but he really liked to twirl that long elastic cord around his wrist and fingers while he dished about murder and betrayal. Hello, Trinity, he said softly. Trinity didn't say hello back. She didn't even know Cypher was evil at this point. Her phone manners just generally weren't great. Cypher, she said, where's Tank? I shot him with a laser and now he's dead. Oh, please don't be mad, said Cypher. Cypher wended his way over to Trinity's body, which was resting in its cyber recliner on the ship, snoring a little. He sniffed, inhaling the scent of her skin. She smelled all right, not great. He sprinkled some steak seasoning over her cheeks and forehead and breathed in again deeply. It helped. You know, Trinity, For a long time, I thought I was in love with you. Cypher, for God's sake, you're doing that thing again where you muse out loud instead of silently, said Trinity. She started to launch into the mnemonic the crew used to remind Cypher which one's a quiet sound and which one is out loud, but stopped suddenly. You are the one who betrayed us all, she exclaimed curtly. Apoc and Switch were standing next to her in the shop trying to get an old Atari working. They looked up anxiously now, sensing that things might not work out great for them long term. Yeah, I did, said Cypher, as he walked over to Morpheus's prone body. Hey, Jagoff, he yelled right into Lawrence Fishburne's face. You never saw this coming, did you? Ta-da! Morpheus peeked an eye open, curious to see if Cypher had produced a quarter from behind his ear, but there was no quarter, not for the traitorous Cypher. I wish I could be there, Cypher spat, when they torture you. That way you'd know it was me who sold you out. He sprinkled a bit more of the steak seasoning on Morpheus's chest for good measure and snorted it all in one clean line. I'm confused, Trinity said. Can you put Tank back on, or is he still dead for a bit longer? Morpheus lied to us, Trinity, Cypher roared, striding angrily across the floor. He tricked us! He didn't tell us what it would be like out here. He didn't say there would be goop instead of steak. If he had, I would have told him to shove that red pill right up his ass. He paused, and both of them briefly wondered, would the red pill work as a suppository? Apart from killing his friends and betraying him, I never get to do anything except follow his orders, cried Cypher. If I have to choose between that and the Matrix, I choose the Matrix. The Matrix isn't real, said Trinity. You're thinking of spoons, Cypher cried in exasperation. The Matrix is more real than this world. Cypher crossed the room and stood by the chair where Apoc's body lay in repose. Here, all I do is pull a plug, he said. But there, you have to watch What's-His-Face die. Cypher gazed coldly down at Apoc's body, then grabbed the cord and yanked it violently from its socket. Apoc's breathing continued uninterrupted, but nearby in the kitchen, the ready light on the ship's waffle iron dimmed and then switched off. It would have been a very dramatic moment if you had been about to make some waffles. Cypher scowled and yanked out the next cord over. On the ship, Apoc's body merely slumped a bit in its chair, but back in the Matrix, his eyes went blank and rolled backward up into his head. Then they came back around from the bottom again. Round and around they went, spinning like the reels on a slot machine and dinging merrily. Then the first eyeball stopped on a big red X, and a moment later the second one joined it. Apoc's body toppled to the floor and dozens of quarters spilled out of his mouth. Switch and Neo squealed with glee and ran to gather the coins. Trinity pressed a finger to her ear to drown out the clanking and jingling in the background. If you have anything you want to say to Switch, continued Cypher, I suggest you say it now before I turn her off like a... Cypher struggled to think of something you can flick off abruptly. He looked all around the room. Oh, like a waffle iron, he finished. No, a switch, he blurted out a full minute later. Trinity turned towards Switch in horror. Switch grinned and waved back. She started to hold up an armful of coins to show Trinity, but at that moment, Cypher pulled the cord connecting her consciousness to her body, and she crumpled toward the floor, emitting a high-pitched squeal like air escaping from a balloon. The coins tumbled from her arms, and, freed of their weight, her deflating body flapped up into the air and whizzed around the room, whistling shrilly, and rebounding lightly off the walls before juddering to a halt on top of an old television cord just inches away from its plug. Oh, don't get me started on plugs, quipped Switch's Force Ghost, suddenly appearing, chuckling and rubbing the back of its head comically. Then it plodded out the front door to go do something else. God damn you, Cypher, yelled Trinity, shaking her fist at the phone where Cypher was. Any more supporting characters here? Called Cypher, looking around the ship. Extras? Tank, you still dead? There was no answer. All right, he crooned, sidling over to where Neo's unconscious body lay in its chair. Neo's turn, then. Trinity turned to Neo, her eyes wide with fear. He was standing around in the TV shop with his hands in his pockets, rocking back and forth on his heels and making small farting sounds with his mouth. There just wasn't that much for him to do right now, but it was nice to catch a break from all the action. He caught her eye. Who is it? He mouthed, pointing at the phone. He hadn't really been paying attention. She covered the mouthpiece. "Cypher," she whispered, swirling her finger around next to her head to indicate that Cypher had gone crazy. Neo nodded and looked around the room, already bored again. In one quick moment, Cypher seized the cord and wrenched it away from Neo's body with all of his might. The waffle iron lurched violently off the counter and smashed into pieces on the floor. "God damn it!" Cypher spat as he flung the cord across the room. "Did you pull it?" asked Trinity, watching Neo for any signs of death. "I'm not getting anything here yet." "Hey, Trinity, all that BS about Neo being the one, did you ever buy that?" asked Cypher as he finally grabbed a hold of the cord, keeping Neo alive. "Yes or no?" Trinity had forgotten the question. Yes, she guessed. "No!" howled Cypher in disbelief. I meant no," Trinity yelled back, but Cypher had dropped the phone and was gaping incredulously at Tank, who had woken up from a dead sleep and picked up the laser cannon. Tank couldn't think of anything pithy to say, so he just went ahead and shot Cypher in the face. Cypher flew backward. His body smashed through some ductwork that evidently wasn't important for keeping the spaceship working properly. His jaw dropped open and his tongue unfurled fruit roll-up style across the entire length of the floor. A small gravestone with the letters RIP sprouted from the top of his head. And Tiny Tank, who was not dead, dropped the gun and picked up his headset. At the extraction point in the TV shop, the phone began ringing again. Trinity and Neo looked at one another. "Probably someone selling something," said Neo. Trinity picked up the phone, and a moment later she was sucked, Stargate style, through the phone wires and back into the real world. Her eyes jolted open on the ship, instantly stinging from the cayenne Cypher had shaken onto her face. She saw Tank limping toward her, clutching his intestines in his hand. "Tank, you're hurt," she said, which was super helpful because, he hadn't noticed that at all. She surveyed the ship, taking in the aftermath of the battle. She looked up at Tank, his face a mask of suppressed grief. "Did Apoc and Switch make it?" she asked. He shook his head sadly. "Dozer?" she asked. His face tightened and looked away again. Again, he shook his head no. "The waffle iron?" she inquired tremulously. He let out a small sob and gestured toward its shattered remains on the floor of the ship. Trinity's eyes watered in pain as some more cayenne fell into them. She stumbled forward and embraced Tank. As they held one another, a fresh chunk of meat sluiced out of Tank's wound and hit the floor with a loud, wet splat. Both of them laughed and laughed at the funny sound it made. "God bless us, everyone!" screamed Tank.
Thank you, Mr. Aukerman. Of course, every week on the show, we also talk to someone who worked on the actual film, The Matrix. Kevin, let's hear that interview.
Welcome to another interview portion of The Novelizers. I am your host, Kevin Carter, and I'm here with Michael Hartney, who is Carrie Ann Moss's lesbian shield. Yes, you heard it here first. Lesbian shield. Michael, please, for the love of God, tell everybody what that is.
Oh, sure. Hi, thanks so much for having me. Basically, it became very clear in the first couple of days of shooting The Matrix that every time Carrie Ann Moss did or said anything, the world's lesbians were whipped into so sufficient a frenzy that they felt they needed to hire a shield to keep the lesbians off the set, away from Carrie Ann Moss, and at least out of the shot.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, what is it about? Is it her character, or is it her? Is it Carrie Ann Moss that is attracting all these lesbians, or is it Trinity, the character?
Basically, put Carrie Ann Moss in leather, and you're going to have just a rabid horde of lesbians. Okay. Pounding down your door.
When I think of this, so forgive me for not being fully knowledgeable of your position. This is new for me. When I'm thinking of how you're explaining this position, it makes me think of the movie World War Z with Brad Pitt, when it was like there were zombies, but they were very fast for zombies, and they just came out in hordes, and they just went at the first thing they saw. So when I think of this lesbian horde you speak of, I'm thinking Carrie Ann Moss walks outside. Here's a bunch of lesbians running 45 miles an hour coming at her, and she needs you to be her her bodyguard or her shield in that way to block them all off. Am I in the ballpark or am I way off here?
Great comp. It is not inaccurate to describe the approaching push of lesbians as a sort of a fast zombie apocalypse. So your 28 Days Laters, your World War Zs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they are fast.
They're fast?
And they will get you. And they would have gotten Carrie Ann had it not been for me and the series of obstacles that I developed to keep those lesbians at bay.
Yeah. So how did you get into this gig? Like what happened? Like what led up to the moment where they said, "Hey, Carrie Ann Moss has a bunch of lesbians at her. We need you to stop them." Like how did that go?
Sure. Well, I was Cate Blanchett's lesbian shield for a lot of her early work. Tilda Swinton's lesbian shield for a lot of her early work. And so, I think my reputation preceded me, and, kind of egg on production's face that it took until about day 4 for them to realize, like, nope, there's a lesbian in this shot. Oh, nope, there's a lesbian in this shot. Just trying to smell Carrie Ann's hair. And so, about day 4 is when they called me and went, "I'm so sorry we doubted that we needed you, Michael. Please report to set in Australia."
Did you set like a price or anything like that? Like, now you guys want me. Now you guys need me. I need some more money for this position.
Oh, yeah. I give myself a little bit of a raise, let's just say.
Okay. I got it.
Several hundred extra dollars per day. That's my late rate.
Oh, late. Okay. I got you. But is Carrie Ann Moss like, is she thankful for what you've done? Is she a nice person? I mean, how is it, like working with her when it comes to this? She's
so nice. She's so sweet. She is such an ally, by the way. So please don't think that any of this was homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
It is just literally to keep lesbians out of the shot. Unless there were lesbians in the scene. And then, of course, it makes sense. So she, after we wrapped, Carrie Ann Moss would stay for 3 to 4 hours just signing lesbians' autographs on both paper and, otherwise.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, it's good to know she's a nice person. When we've been interviewing
Class
people,
act.
we've been hearing a lot about how nice the people are and everything like that. So it's good to know there's some consistency there with the characters and the actors and actresses. Have you ever had a situation where somebody got through? Like, because let's ask another question. What would happen if somebody got through? Like if you wasn't on your job, let's say somebody gave you a nice little Barry Sanders juke move and they got past you to get to Carrie Ann and they got her. It's just them and Carrie Ann. What would happen? What's the worst thing that would happen?
So if a lesbian got into the shot, I guess it depended on the shot for sure. If it's just a typical dialogue shot and we're getting Carrie Ann's coverage, and we get the hand in the shot of someone trying to reach desperately for a piece of Carrie Ann Moss's clothing and or skin, then we could just go again. However, there's so many intricate stunt and effects shots in The Matrix, and sometimes, you'd only get one shot where everything was aligning perfectly. And boy, oh boy, you don't want jean shorts and a trucker hat in that shot.
That's true. That would mess everything up because we're leather over here and you got on jean shorts and a trucker hat. Yeah.
It just completely interrupts the visual language of the film.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. So I understand the importance, of your role and everything like that. My question to you is, like, growing up, did you ever think, like, this is what I'm going to do? I want to be a bodyguard. I mean, I guess because essentially, I guess you are a bodyguard. You're there to protect, Carrie Ann Moss and stuff. So is this something you always want to do as a kid or anything like that?
Yeah, I think certainly as a kid, I knew that I wanted to hold people at bay.
Mhm.
And then it became very clear that I wanted to use non-violent methods. And usually with men, violent methods come into play. And that's not really my vibe. It's not really my scene.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I wanted to be a security person for women-only threats. And that involves, just a little more ingenuity and a just more delicate touch.
Yeah, I guess, hearing that, I think about the way of America, the way of this world. There aren't really women level threats, so what would be a woman level threat? Because when I think of all the things that's happened in this world, it's mostly been caused by men.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's face it. Most of the world's ills have been created by men.
Mhm.
However, there are certain events and phenomena that attract almost exclusively women. Things like Oprah Winfrey. You wouldn't need a lesbian shield. You'd need a straight lady shield for her show. In fact, I know who worked on her show. It was Will Hines. He was amazing. But one of those things is when a lesbian icon, whether they're lesbian or not, is in a film. Everything they say or do, particularly if they are in a cool outfit while doing it, there is something, even if you're not aware of it, the world's lesbians somehow know, and they will come to Australia.
Is it like they're speaking in a different language or something like that? Or is there like a bat signal or something? How would they know?
Exactly. It is something chemical in their brains.
Okay.
Where they know, like, Carrie Ann Moss just turned her head and she has sunglasses on. I need to be part of that.
Gotcha.
It's sort of like how birds know to go south.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now we're cooking. Okay. I know exactly what you mean by that.
It's an instinct.
Yeah, it's an instinct. I know exactly what you mean by that. And then, so they already say women have great instincts anyway. So it matches up.
Yes.
It matches up.
Truly.
Random question. Not random, but just because it may not be true. It may be true. Is Carrie Ann Moss a lesbian?
No, she's not.
Oh, she's not
truly,
even. Okay.
No,
all right.
She's an ally. But the combination of her haircut and outfit and general vibe in this film, and let's face it, others, lesbians don't care. They don't care about her personal life.
They don't care?
She exudes a lesbian energy that is frankly irresistible.
Okay. So for being Carrie Ann Moss's lesbian shield, that means you've done other things outside of The Matrix, right? Or was The Matrix the only one you did for her?
That was the only one I did for Carrie Ann Moss. But again,
Okay.
I was Kate Blanchett's and Tilda Swinton's lesbian shield in previous productions.
Okay. Have you ever been hurt on the job?
Oh, countless times. Yeah, I mean, it truly, I think the stunt cast of Matrix is, of course, one of the great stunt casts of all time.
Mhm.
And frankly, I do feel that I belong in that group in a lot of ways because of the wear and tear that this had on my body and occasionally spirit.
Okay. Okay. There it is. The spirit. What about this job can, if somebody wants to get into this line of work, you got to give it to them real. You got to give it to them straight, right? You got to give them the real. What does this job do to your soul that most people may not know about? That's not always a positive thing.
Well, I like to think that I conduct myself with integrity and honesty at most times. But frankly, one of the biggest techniques as a lesbian shield is to do a lesbian smokescreen of some sort. And of course, that involves deception. If you're saying that there's a 50% off sale at Home Depot and there isn't, and you're just sending the world's lesbians to find non-existent deals at Home Depot,
Yeah.
Sometimes they come back and they're like, hey, that trowel was full price, and you have to sort of contend with that. Sometimes, you'll say like, there is a Melissa Etheridge and or Indigo Girls concert happening one soundstage over. And again, the world's lesbians will actually, I mean, one of the sound stages was torn apart because lesbians were looking for, I said it was a double bill. I said it was Melissa Etheridge and the Indigo Girls, and that was my mistake.
Wow. Okay. So a deeper question for you. You see a lot, right? In your position, you see a lot of lesbians.
Oh, I've seen a lot.
Yeah, you've seen a lot. Why do you think this lesbian horde would go after someone like Carrie Ann Moss when she's just an ally and not a lesbian?
I think if you watch the first scene in The Matrix, you have your answer. Because she is, I mean, it's enough to make me a lesbian, and I'm not even sure how that tracks in any way other than I know it to be true in my heart. Yeah,
I figured I was a lesbian too, but sometimes I don't know.
I mean, good Lord, like just everything about her as Trinity is a lesbian dream come true.
Yeah, I guess so, because she whooped a lot of men's ass. She just whooped their ass the entire, for that first scene, she just had at it, you know, and nobody could stop her.
Nobody could stop her. And I think once it became clear that this character could defy gravity, in addition to how she looks and the asses that she kicks, it was over.
And to do all that in tight leather is quite astounding, you know, to do that. So I appreciate that.
Sorry, a lesbian is actually coming. No, we're just talking about her.
Oh,
no, she's not here. We're just talking about her work in The Matrix. No, I'm so sorry. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Wow.
This happens a lot.
They just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, if you talk about Carrie Ann Moss enough, you'll get a couple of Janes coming by.
I'm sorry. I'm hoping they don't come to my house. I don't have it. If any lesbians are listening, I don't know much about Carrie Ann Moss. We're just having a conversation here.
They're so nice. I mean, they might fix something that's broken at your house. Like they're they're great. Oh. So yeah, you just have to let them know. Like, no, we're just talking about Carrie Ann Moss.
Oh, yeah, cool. Well, if that's the case, lesbians listening, my refrigerator ice maker isn't working. If you would like to come by, I'll say Carrie Ann Moss's name 3 times like Beetlejuice, and hopefully you pop up or something.
3 times is I actually don't advise that.
You don't advise 3 times?
Yeah, that's just definitely don't say her name 3 times in a row.
Will Carrie Ann Moss pop up if I do something like that?
I wish. No, it'll just be too many lesbians. You just won't be prepared for the number of lesbians that will show up if you say her name 3 times.
Yeah, a lot of lesbians. That's a lot of screwdrivers and tool belts. I don't think I'm prepared for that.
Yeah. Well, unless your house is a wreck, then
it's not that bad. I mean, okay, a few things, 1 or 2 lesbians I think help out. 5 or 6, that's just too many. That's too many. I don't need that much stuff. So I'm actually a writer. You know, I don't know if you've heard this or not. I haven't told anybody. I'm actually a writer, and I put together screenplays and things like that. And I know so you're not working. You just saying you need The Matrix with Carrie Ann Moss, but I wrote something that I'm thinking she can actually be a part of and can get you back on. So with being her lesbian shield.
Great, because I only could work 1 day on The Acolyte, so this would be great. This will be
the full 2 to 3 months that I'd probably take to shoot this movie. The name of it is called Stud Finder, and it's about it's a Carrie Ann Moss working in a Home Depot.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, she's working in a Home Depot, and somehow she's wearing leather pants, but a flannel on top. Some with leather pants. And it works for her, and things are going bad, and saying it's an action but also a love story, and she falls in love with a lesbian. Yeah.
Well, so her character in the film is a lesbian?
Yeah, we're expanding her range on what to expect. That's why I need somebody like you, because now that she is a lesbian, I'm assuming only more will come.
We're going to need a team.
Yeah.
I'm going to it can't just be me. I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough limbs. This is going to need to be a legion of lesbian shields for this film, particularly because it's called Stud Finder. Mm-hmm. That is Wow.
Yeah. I figured it would be somebody that like you could work on it and help me out and make sure she's protected, because it's just a job. She's just acting, but we just got to make sure she's protected in these situations.
Oh, yeah. The parking lot of the Home Depot will actually have to be filled with shields.
Yes. Okay. So one more question. When it comes to shields, what type of person do you feel would be the best fit for that job?
I think it has to be someone who is both physically strong, but also has a MacGyver-like ingenuity, because sometimes particularly spry lesbians will have to be tricked rather than physically maneuvered. And so, the combination of, first of all, you have to be able to hold a typical standard issue lesbian battering ram, which, isn't light. So, it's about 60 pounds, and you sort of wear it like a regular battering ram.
You can wear a battering ram?
Well, you hold it, and your arms sort of fit into it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess wearing isn't the exact right term, but it's almost like you're hugging it.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that.
And the lesbian battering ram also is shaped differently. It's a little more biomorphic, so it makes everyone feel hugged and cared for rather than merely
obliterated.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would love a battering ram that when I hit you with it, you feel loved. I would greatly.
That's exactly
really
what
appreciate
happens
that.
here.
Yes.
It feels like a hug.
Yes. That's quite a battering. I don't know why they would still call it a battering ram. But I do like that. I do think it's a good idea to have a lesbian battering ram.
But so a lesbian battering ram is only good for, say, 40, 50 lesbians. So if there's 60 lesbians,
you're in trouble.
Trying to get to Carrie Ann Moss, there's still 10 that are getting over the battering ram. So you have to think of other things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that usually is where trickery is involved. Sometimes trying to entice them honeypot style with other lesbian icons adjacent to set.
Got you. Yeah, I think with the battering ram, let's say that you get 10 that comes past that and they make it over. I think just a nice bin, like a bin with loose tools in it, and just say first come, first serve.
Yeah, that will definitely take care of the tool, the handy lesbians.
Yes.
Yeah, and those are usually the ones that get over the ram. Mm-hmm. So I think you're onto something.
Yeah, they don't seem like huggers. They don't seem like huggers.
Gosh, bin of tools. Okay.
Yeah.
Writing that down. Thank you.
Listen, this has been a great interview, Michael. I learned a lot. I think everybody that's listening learned a lot. And I will be checking Amazon and Indeed for a battering ram, but also the lesbian shield position. See if there's anything out there. I think I'm strong. But I appreciate you coming on the podcast today to talk to us about this.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, and you're going to need truly an army of lesbian shields on Stud Finder. So
okay, I'll look for that.
Going. Yeah.
This has been another interview portion of The Novelizers. I've been Kevin Carter. You guys take it easy.
That's it for our show today. Special thanks to Nita Haberlein, Scott Aukerman, and Michael Hartney. Join us next time for a chapter narrated by Triumph, the insult comic dog. Till then, Stephen, unplug us from this matrix.
Sure thing. The Novelizers is produced by me, Stephen Levinson, with Graham Douglas, Kevin Carter, Christine Bowen, Dennis DeClaudio, Rob Kuttner, and Sucharis Bokil. Music by Cole Emhoff. Graphic design by Crystal Dennis. Theme song by Andrew Lynn. Performed by Knots. Special thanks to Chris Karwowski and WYSO Radio in Yellow Springs, Ohio. The Novelizers is a work of parody unauthorized by Warner Brothers. Follow The Novelizers on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok, and please donate to our Patreon. Copyright 2024, Novelizers, LLC. Take us out, Amy Mann.
There was a matrix made of computers. There was a guy who could dodge all of the bullets. He lived in fluid, just like a fetus. But he was born again like baby Jesus. Novelized so real.